So hi guys, I'm back at y'all with another video, and as you can see by the thumbnail, I'm doing a swimsuit tutorial, or this could just be an outfit if you rock it like that, but to me this is a swimsuit tutorial. So yeah, we're just gonna get into this. And I have this old dress that I burnt with an iron, and I went out and bought like a exact copy of this dress not too much later. So yeah, I just had a duplicate with a hole in it. So it's about time that I just decided to do something with it. So we're gonna start off with the bottom, and there's two ways you can make this. You can either make this with a pattern or not a pattern. So basically they're basically the same thing. So basically all you're doing with a pattern is just tracing it on paper, and then without a pattern you're just doing it on the fabric. So I like to do patterns so I don't have to keep trying to resize it and find the length I need for every time I try to make the same thing. So if you just trace it on paper, you're just saving yourself time in the long run. So yeah, I'm gonna be showing y'all both ways that I do this. So when I make the top, I usually just get a tank top that I like the fit of, and I would trace like the neckline, and I'm gonna be having these arrows to show y'all what I mean, but I would just trace the neckline, and then I would just trace the sides how long I wanted it, and then for the bottom I would just fold it up and cut it as a straight edge. But really it would only be this length because I would make sure to cut out the shoulder to armpit area. So I would basically measure from my shoulder to under my armpit and leave a space open where I can connect the neckline to the sides. And then for the back, I just make it the same length as the front and just cut out a rectangle, and that's all I would do for the back. I would basically just do the same thing that I would do at the end, the same sewing process I would do for the end. But for the shorts, you need to make sure to trace out two different patterns, because the front, as you can see, this is the back because the curve is obviously long for your butt crack, and the front would be shorter. So you would end up with two pieces for the front and the back. That would give you 4 pieces in total. And like I said, it's basically the same thing for the pattern. You're just tracing it on paper. But if you still want to know how I do that, then I guess I can just show you guys that it will. So I just took this other shirt that I kind of like the fit of. I decided not to do a tank top because this one would be better as in showing y'all how I did the measurements and stuff. So I just put a pin where I wanted my neckline to be, and then I put a pin under my armpit, and I just connected those two pins with a straight line, and then I measured how long I wanted it to be, and of course just drew a straight line across the bottom and connected my neckline to the point under my armpit. So of course you're gonna need to add seam allowance for everything. So I added seam allowance only on the side seams. The only reason I added seam allowance on the inside was because I did 2 pieces instead of just one by folding the fabric in half and just having 1 piece. So I had to add seam allowance if I was going to do 2 pieces. But as you can see, I added a 1/2 inch of seam allowance, and that's all you really need to do for that. It's really basically the same thing, just on paper. So you're going to try to need to save as much fabric as you can. So I'm just trying to get it into I'm trying to snug it into corners, because I'm like, you got to work with the fabric you got, because I really can't use the piece of fabric with the hole in it. So I'm really trying to get it snug into these corners. I might have to use some of the hoodie fabric, I don't know. But basically right now I'm just trying to save the side seam, because that's just saving material, because I can reuse that, and it also saves money, so I don't have to buy as much fabric to go around the edge. So I'm just going to be taking a seam ripper, and I'm just going to be seam ripping around the area that I'm going to be cutting this out in. And eventually I just seam ripped all of it off just the same time. But yeah, I just take my seam ripper and I very carefully seam rip it off, like very carefully. I make sure I only cut the string only, then I pull and tug and cut some more off. So now that that's done, we can basically just trace this out. I took a little chalk or oil pastel. What is this? Oil pastel? I know I didn't take no oil pastel. I think I did. Interesting. But yeah, it's the same color red, so I mean, oh well. So yeah, I just outline that real nice. I don't know why I didn't cut it out, because I had it folded in half, so I don't know why I didn't cut it out like that, but who knows. But there's my piece. You really can't see it too well. Like I said, it's the same color. And I just take a really good pair of scissors. These came in this sewing kit, so I'm pretty sure that these are fabric scissors, and I just cut all of it out. And I have no idea how I came up with two pieces, but here we are. So now I didn't show you how I made the back. So basically, when I cut this pattern out, I had two pieces because I had the pattern cut in half. So I had two pieces of paper. I almost said fabric, but I just took the second piece. Well, actually I cut them in half first, and I took the second piece, and basically they were folded together like this, and I just cut it from corner to corner like that, and I ended up with my back piece. So I just added seam allowance on both sides, and there I had it. And then we just cut this piece out. I'm trying to save fabric here, so I went to a little side piece off to the side. I don't know where this is on my dress, but somewhere. But I haven't went to the bottom yet, since I know the shorts are going to be pretty big. So I'm trying to save the bottom fabric for my shorts. So I don't know why I did this part off camera, but basically I just put the two shirt pieces good sides kissing, and I just sewed a basic straight stitch down the middle. And now I'm just attaching the back pieces. So I have the back pieces with the larger side on the outside to match the outside length, and as you can see, as it gets to the middle, it gets shorter, because with this swimsuit, I don't know, you want to show a little back or something, but yeah, it just gets skinnier as it goes to the middle. But I'm just basically just taking some pins and pinning it in place. I'm also pinning these good always, and then I'm just going to pin those up and just take it to my sewing machine. Okay y'all, so now that that's done, I just added a little bit of extra fabric on the end because my shirt was a little too short for me. I didn't need no underboob hanging out, but this actually turned out being too long, so I just folded it in to make like a little nice little seam at the bottom. But now it's time to add the little white lining like I said before. So as you can see, it's already folded in from where it was originally sewn, but if yours is not, you can just fold it in on both sides. And I took one of the folded ends and I pinned it to the front, and then I would fold it over and pin the back on. So after I would pin the first side like this, I would just do a basic straight stitch across that, and then I will fold the rest over and then sew a top stitch on that. But this was a little out of the way for me. I don't know why I did all this, because once I started getting to the end of the shirt, and for the shorts, I kind of just did it all at one stitch instead of just two, because I feel like this was just extra when I could have just folded both sides over and then just sewed one stitch total. But yeah, this is basically what I did for the shirt. And as y'all can see, I'm gonna sew a straight stitch across that. And now that I've done that, I'm going to fold it over with the folded side tucked in, and I'm just going to sew a straight stitch on top of that. And this was super extra. I don't know why I did that. As you can see, I was struggling with that. So I decided just to do it all at once. So basically what I mean by that is I just took both the folded sides and just basically how I did that, instead I just skipped the first stitch and just folded it over and went straight to the second stitch. So now that I finished that and I've just cut my straps in half and tied a knot, I'm going to be sewing a straight stitch across the back, because this was a little too long, a little too big, so I just took it in some. And I make sure I always have my seams lined up, like my outer seams, like the white lining, and the middle seam where I added the extra piece of fabric. I have that lined up as well, because we don't want it to be off looking or anything like that. So after I just sewed that, then you're basically done with the shirt, and you can just secure it in any type of way you want. So for the shorts, like I said, I traced the front and then I went and traced the back, because they have two different patterns, but you don't have to, like if you don't have like a big butt or anything, because it really wouldn't make a difference. But if you do, I would make sure to make the back longer than the front. So I'm starting off with the front. As you can see, my curve is shorter, and I'm kind of lining this up with the curves in the dress, because I'm trying to, save fabric. And then once again, I just outline all of this, and then after that you should have two pieces for your front piece. And also I added the amount of elastic I was gonna have in my waistband, so I just measured how thick my waistband was and just added that to the top of my short pattern. I don't know why I didn't tell y'all that before, but yeah, that's what I did, because I will be folding the fabric over to cover the elastic. So now you have two pieces for your front, and make sure you know which pieces those are. You don't want to get them confused, then it will be extra loose in the front and tight in the back, so you don't want to get them mixed up neither. So I just moved up to the top for my back pieces and did the same thing. So yeah, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure to sew a stitch across that curved part. You don't want to sew the crotch seam, you just want to sew the straight part only. Like, repeat, do not sew the crotch seam, just don't, only sew the straight part. And once you have that, you should have two pieces of shorts. You should have your front and you should have your back. And now I have my crotch seams lined up together, pinned with good size kissing, and I just sewed that, and here we are. So this is the way that I talked about earlier, as me doing it all at one time. So I just folded it in half and just sewed that, and this was a lot easier. So now I'm just going to show y'all how I line up the side seams. So I basically just take the back of the shorts, like the back pattern, and I just lay that on top of my front piece. And I'm talking about side seams here. So I take the back side seam and I lay that on top of the front. So you really didn't have to do the whole front piece if you didn't want to, just to save time, because you're just going to end up covering it up when you sew over that, like that. And once you do that and sew it, you should be able to move on to your waistband. So like I said, I made sure to add enough fabric to cover my elastic. So yeah, you're going to need to make sure you add this extra fabric, unless your shorts are going to be really low waisted if you don't. So I'm just folding over that on both sides, and I'm going to pin it down and sew right beneath the elastic. As y'all can see, I kind of pulled a little when I sewed the elastic just to give me a snugger fit. And yeah, now you're basically done with this outfit. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if y'all want me to do a video on my puff balls, because yes baby, that is real. But anyways, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and I'm gonna see you guys next time. Peace.